Hello and welcome to Zen Kitchen. We're going to do pour over coffee again. This time we are going to do a really perfect pour, and I'll explain that as I go along. It matters, trust me. Watch. Hot water's ready. Start slow. Don't get too crazy. Why? Because, and I've mentioned this before, but I'm just going to really get into the details. Let's just say the coffee grounds are kind of like a sponge, like a dry sponge. What happens when you just dump water on a dry sponge? It doesn't really do much. You need to kind of slowly soak it, squeeze it, soak it, and then you can really go for it. And these are very strong filters. Obviously, Melita has been making these coffee filters for a long time. However, if the water is hot and you put too much pressure, as in dumping too much water at once, it can bust the filter. And then you get grinds all up in your cup. Obviously, you can just use a strainer, like a mesh strainer, to filter it out. It's just not desirable. And I feel like it does slightly affect the flavor. You know, there's a real nuance with flavor with these pour over drip coffees. Obviously, I'm using ground beans, as you can see, French roast Starbucks. This is one of my favorite brands. I mean, I can't even tell you. This is like the darkest color of coffee bean ever. They have perfected French roast. Think what you want about it, but Starbucks has also been around for a long time, and if they weren't really, really good at coffee, they probably wouldn't be in business. You know, sometimes we get upset with these big corporations because they're big. We feel like they're not personal anymore, or they're faceless. But that's not really entirely true. And a lot of times they do produce good products. Melita is another good example. I prefer to buy the coffee filters from them because I know that they're not gonna be a poor quality product. Some filters, if they're not made well, they might just bust by barely doing anything. And I know I've been talking this whole time, but there is a sort of thing I'm doing here that's really specific. I let it drain and then I slowly come back. It's at this level right now. You don't really want to go too much higher. I'm using oversized filters on purpose. It will spill over. And when it starts to get full, it's starting to get full, I have my backup cup. It's not the ideal. I like it because I can, and you'll see, I can sort of mix it together for the final product. And the cup on the very end is just a place to put it when it's done. Don't underestimate the importance of that. It's these little things. All right, the last bit. Make sure that's steady in there. I'm getting a very nice rich brew, very dark. Let's see how this is done. There was a better flow in the beginning, but this is more or less an ideal flow. This is a Starbucks brand drip filter. I'm just going to say that it looks really simplistic, but it's really well designed. The hole on the bottom, the way it grips, everything. Clearly it can withstand heat. You don't want to microwave it or anything like that. It can withstand boiling water. It is top rack dishwasher safe. Ooh. There's something very satisfying about this. I almost feel satisfied as if satisfying my thirst by watching the process. Of course, I'm still going to drink it. It's just an interesting feeling. It's sort of like what a chef feels when they're making really good food, like in fine dining, or anything for that matter. I like to do this. Get Gets the drain going. I'm very meticulous. You could call it other things. Let's just call it detail oriented. An old boss of mine, a manager at a restaurant, said that I was persnickety. I kind of like that one. Sounds nicer. All right, put this to the side. In fact, let's get that up there. Now what I like to do is, this is not actually ideal because it becomes foamy, but I like how you're gonna have an uneven brew. This is gonna be richer and darker because it was the first part of it. This is the tailing end of it. It's gonna be a little more watery. So I like to mix them together. It doesn't really matter, the foam will die down, I'm not that worried. Yeah. Okay, let's just take a look at the final kind of very dark French roast. Oh my goodness. It's heaven for me. Not everyone likes that, but I do. All right, we'll do one more. You're gonna lose a little bit. You can do this however you want. I just prefer to do this. There we go. And we'll pour ourselves half of a cup. This is very hot. I like to drink it that way. It kind of keeps it fresher too. You can rinse out the cup in between, pour yourself a second cup or a third cup, 3 half cups about. I mean, technically this is 2 cups, you know, different measurements, different ounces. Gets confusing, right? Oh, that's looking beautiful. Slight tilt. You can see again, beautiful. Let's take a sip. Delicious.